Welcome to the Ordinary Marathoner podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Ordinary Marathoner podcast. My name is Scott. I'll be your host today. Got a good show for you today. Got a really interesting guest. My first guest, you know what? Last week I closed out the show. I said it was going to be a Brit, but it's not. It's an Aussie. Australia. As a matter of fact, I'm recording here on a Monday night, and it is Tuesday. So we're actually, it's a very strange occurrence here. We're recording on really two separate days, depending on which person you're talking to. But I'm going to bring him in just a moment. As always, you can find this in the back episodes of our podcast at our website. It's called ordinarymarathoner.com. Check it out if you get a chance. You can also find them on the aggregators, places like Stitcher, TuneIn, and iTunes. You can download that podcast app to your iPhone and search for the Ordinary Marathoner podcast. Give us a like, give us a subscribe if you like the show, and you'll never miss a new episode that way. We also got our YouTube channel up and running. We're downloading the podcast there. It's just audio only on those. But we posted a couple videos. So 2 weeks ago, we did my failed 4-hour training bike ride, which was sort of forced on me by my wife. Thank you very much, Stephanie. And we just posted a sort of an intro video this past weekend. It was kind of fun to do. I'm still learning editing, video editing. But you know what? It's just one of those fun things that, I don't know, it's keeping me interested, and we'll see where the channel goes. But we expect to put out, hopefully weekly. I don't know. It's a lot of work, but we'll see how it goes in the coming weeks ahead. You can find me on Twitter at OrdMarathoner. That's O-R-D Marathoner. And if you follow me there, I'll follow you back. We can get the conversation going on over there. But if you like to speak in longer sentences than are allowed on Twitter, you can hit our Facebook discussion group. It's called Ordinary Marathoners. It's a closed group, so you got to add yourself to it. We'll put you right through, and you can either join the conversation or you can just be a lurker. That's cool too. Got about 600 people over there, and I got to tell you, it's a really cool group, really great group of people, very supportive, very positive. I love those guys. Love hanging out over there on the discussion group. With that, I'm going to bring in today's guest all the way from Australia, although Skype makes it quite easy. Greg Leitch, welcome to the show, Greg.
Thank you very much, Scott. It's awesome to be here.
You are really like my first international guest. So 88 podcasts done. This is my 89th podcast, and my first one from not the U.S. What do you think about that? I think that's an honor, man.
It is an honor. I'm quite pumped by that. That's brilliant. And I think, and just to add to that, I was the first one for Martinez as well, I think.
Oh, really? So you did Martinez's 300 Pounds in Running podcast. You see how I plug other podcasts? I just plug the competition. He's a good dude.
You've been on each other's podcasts, so it's a good thing.
Yeah, he's a good dude. I like Martinez a lot, and he's got the him and Denny, I think, are tied for the second best podcast out there after this one, of course. So listen, Greg, I met you. I think I'm pretty sure we met over Facebook over the past few months, maybe even a year. You do a lot of work in the running space. I know that you got a bunch of Facebook pages out there, so I kind of want to touch on all of them, if you don't mind. Let's walk ourselves through them. I know, you have a page called Real Bodies Fitness, and I think that's pretty much your work, right? So what exactly is it?
Okay. I am a qualified personal trainer, and I have been for the last 4 years. So yes, that is my business. I have a history of being morbidly obese. I spent 22 years in the corporate world sitting on my backside, basically living a sedentary life, which wasn't good. And in 2012, I decided to make some changes to my life as well as my wife. And in the process of the next probably 12 months, I lost 60 kilos. So if you equate that to pounds, you're probably...
I was going to say, my listeners probably don't know what that is. I don't know what it is.
Probably looking at about 140 to 150 pounds
dude.
In 12 months.
Good job,
so
man.
It was a fairly dramatic change.
Have you been able to keep that off?
Sorry?
Have you been able to keep that off?
No, I haven't, but there's a multitude of reasons.
All right, we can go back there, maybe.
Yeah, we can go back to that because it is an important part of the story. Yeah. But in the process, I decided, and it sounds really strange, that I decided that I wanted to learn to run. Now, my wife at the time said, "What do you mean you want to learn to run? You know how to run." I used to play a lot of sport in my teenage years and early 20s.
Yeah.
I used to play what we call football, which is Australian rules football.
Oh, all right. Yeah.
And I don't expect a lot of the North American listeners to have a clue.
You know, I got to tell you, like years ago, it used to be on ESPN like all the time over here. It would be like they'd put it on at midnight, but as a younger guy, I'd be up at all hours, and we used to watch all the time. Now I didn't know all the rules or all the players, but it was kind of an interesting sport, and it's definitely like. But I do think that you're probably right. Most Americans don't really know exactly what it is anymore. But I kind of have a clue. I remember like the big poles and the guy would come out and he'd like do one of these and one of these and one.
Oh, yeah, close. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, with the hand signals for the goals and the points. Yeah, it's a bit strange because if you score a goal, you get 6 points, and if you miss the goal, you get 1 point, and it's kind of a little bit bizarre. But most people, when they come to Australia for the first time and they go to a match, they have no idea. But that's all right. We educate them.
Yeah. It's funny because you say that, like my grandmother, and we played American football over here. When we, not the soccer one, but the one where we beat each other up with helmets and stuff. So my grandmother never knew the real rules for American football, but she broke it down for everybody when she said, if the ball goes this way, it's good. And if the ball goes that way, it's bad, which I think is pretty much the same. You could probably apply it to Australian rules.
Yes, very true. So that was me growing up. I spent a lot of time doing that. And I played in a position where you had to be pretty fit. And I used to do athletics and obviously along with my football as well. So that was all great. But then at the age of 19, I got patellar tendonitis.
Yeah.
In both knees at the same time.
Ouch.
Yes. So basically I was told that I could have surgery and basically be unable to walk around for a little period of time, having both knees operated on the same time, or I could just wait until it went away. I was a bit soft, and I chose the wait until it went away option.
Yeah,
and it took 2 years,
but it got better.
Yeah, it got better. But in that 2 years, I couldn't do any running, right. So I piled on the weight. I was watching my mates play football, and I was eating pies and drinking beer. So. Not a good combination at all.
We've all been there, though. A lot of us have been there. Let's say that.
Yes, definitely. So that's where my weight gain started, and my football career kind of stopped. But with Aussie rules football training, you go to training, and the coach will say, "All right, we're going to do 3 mile or 5 mile run." It's all in kilometres here, but it equates to the same. And everyone hated it. And it was, if he had thrown the ball out there and said, we're going to chase this around for 3 hours, there wouldn't have been any issues. But as soon as it was just, we're going for a run, everyone hated it. So when I said to my wife, I want to learn to run, she found it was a little bit weird. But I wanted to learn to do it properly so that I could go and run 3 miles, 5 miles, whatever. I didn't have any grand plans for any super distances. I just wanted to be able to comfortably run a 5 kilometre or a 10 kilometre. 10 Ks was my goal.
Yeah.
I didn't know how long it was going to take me, but that was the goal.
Yeah, and so 6 miles, it's funny because I think I kind of equate this to sort of, I'm hearing a lot of parallels to sort of my own personal story here, which, here we did the same exact thing. Like you grow up and you hate running when you're participating in sports because it's like, it's either the punishment or, like you said, it's just no fun. Right.
Yeah.
And then you hear 10K and you're like, man, that seems so daunting. 6 miles.
Yeah, it's a long way.
Yeah, it seems like such a challenge, but then you wind up getting here. So let's continue on. I'm interested, but it's like I'm feeling you here. Like there's a lot of parallels here.
Yeah, it's funny because when I listen to your other podcasts and I hear you tell your own story, I think, yep, that was me. A few episodes back when you were talking about having to run the 2 miles for your baseball.
Yep.
It was exactly. I related to that a lot. But yeah, so I started off. There's a little park around the corner from my house, and it has a circular track which kids ride their scooters and bikes around, and it's 250 meters circular. So I thought that's perfect for me to start. So if I can do 4 laps, that's 1 kilometer, and then that was my goal, was to be able to knock off 1 kilometer non-stop and then build from there.
Yeah.
And I used to go running at night, dressed in head to toe in black. I must have looked like the biggest cat burglar in the world. Morbidly obese dude dressed head to toe in black, shuffling. I call it a joffle. It's a cross between a jog and a shuffle. And so I used to do this at like 9:30 at night out in the park. And I came home after about 3 weeks. And I said to my wife, I've just managed to run 3 kilometres nonstop. And she said, "Oh, don't be silly." I said, "No, I have." And I was using all the gadgets that I had available at the time. I think it was Nike Run app on my phone, and I showed her. And so it was quite an achievement for me at the time. And then over the course of the next couple of weeks, I got a free trial at a local gym, and I thought I'll go down and check it out. And I hate treadmills with a passion, but I thought I'm going to jump on this treadmill and I'm just going to see if I can run 5K. And it took me 40 minutes, but I managed to bang out the 5K. Came home and told her, and she was obviously, once again, she goes, are you sure? It's a long way. You started, you're running. And so I took a photo and I showed her, and so that was great. Then the next week I made the big mistake, not knowing any better. I decided that I was just going to go out and I was going to run as far as I could. And I got to about 6.5K and strained my calf muscle.
Yeah.
And I felt it, and I thought, it's all right. It's like a little bit of a cramp, harden up, push through it. You'll be right. Don't be such a sook. Yeah, biggest mistake I could make, because it put me out for 6 weeks. So it put me right back to square one.
Yeah. Yeah. I got to tell you too, is I've gone through like every piece of the story, as you just mentioned, including the calf. I started wearing calf compression sleeves, and I don't know if you've added that to your list of equipment. And I don't know if they really help, or if it just was like the leg cramps just kind of were just a fleeting moment, and then they went away. But now I wear them all the time, just in case. They seem like they helped the first time, so now I wear them all the time.
It's funny. It's funny you mention that, because I do wear them. Yeah. And I actually put a post on my Instagram probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago. There was a photo of my compression sleeves with my shoes and socks, and I asked the question: is it a placebo or a preventative measure?
Yeah.
And I don't care either way, because if it's a placebo, it's working for me.
Exactly.
So if it works, I'll keep doing it. So
yeah, I mean, it's just a fashion statement at that point, then. But they always seem to look better on skinny guys, I think. Anyway, and they got us with you got big calf muscles. I'm sure you do, but it's like you go there and they're like, "Oh, we got to measure your calf," and then they measure it. Oh, you're like a extra large. It's like, oh, it's I don't know.
Nothing nice about that, being called extra large.
But it's I'm feeling you here, man. So did you like? So all right. So now, when did you actually start racing? When did you all right? So now you're back to square one, right? Now here's where we are in the story. You're back to square one. You're coming off this calf thing. Like, what was the next? It's got to be deflating. I mean, you got to feel. How were you feeling? I mean, yeah.
It was horrible, because I'd done all this hard work, and I thought I was at a point where I was going to catapult now into getting up to that magical 10 kilometers, because 6.4 wasn't that far away, but it was a bit of a distance. It's still like 50% more I had to do. But then I had to go back and start again, and I didn't know what I was going to do. I had to wait till this calf issue was fixed, and then just see how it was. But I slowly started to chip away at it. I knew mentally that I had run that distance, so I could get back there.
Yeah.
It was just physically, how long was it going to take? So I hadn't started to do any events. It wasn't something that I'd really thought about in the past. I had an issue with paying a fee to go and be able to do a run, and I go out and run around the streets. But we have a series of runs over here called the Sunset Series, and they're done in February, so late summer. And unfortunately, as I said, they're called the Sunset Series. They're done in the evenings. And I don't know if you know much about Melbourne, where I'm from, and their summers, but they can get pretty hot. Like we can get up to 40 plus degrees Fahrenheit, so well over 100.
I'm glad you have the conversion.
40 degrees Celsius, so well over 100 Fahrenheit.
Wow.
And they're usually done at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the evening. So, the sun's still up and beating down on you.
It's tough.
But my friend decided she was going to do it. And I missed the first one out of the three. And the second one was held at the Melbourne Zoo. So you run around the perimeter of the outside of the zoo, and then you run from the front gate down to the back gate and back up again. But you actually run right past the animal enclosures. So the zoo's closed, and you get to run past all the animals.
That's kind of neat.
And you have to do it twice because it was 8 kilometres. So I thought, I'm going to do that. It was something different, and signed up as my first event, and off I went. I went by myself and met my friend there. My wife and kids couldn't come along because it was in the evening, and I've got 4 kids, and they have a myriad of different activities on. So I thought, that's okay. I'll do the event and I'll come home. I got there, never having run anything before. I was standing with a different friend who was quite a good runner, and off we went, and I got sucked into the group and was just going along at the pace of everyone else.
This sounds like trouble.
Yes, it was. And I got to the end of the first kilometre, and it told me that I was running at 5 minutes and 12 seconds per kilometre. And I was normally about a 6:40 to 7 minute kilometre person at that time.
Yeah.
And I looked at my watch and thought, holy crap, I'm in a lot of trouble if I don't slow down right now. So I said to my friend, off you go. I can't maintain this pace, off you go. And I don't think she meant to be going at that pace either, but she seemed to do okay. So I pulled it back, and I still had a massive uphill to go at about 1.5 K. So at that pace, I was never going to make it. And then I got to the halfway point, which was just as we're about to go into the zoo. And I see this little boy standing on the sidelines, holding out his hand, waiting for a high five, with this huge sign that said, "Go Dad." And it was my 5-year-old.
Aw, man, you just broke my heart, dude. That's great.
It was the best thing ever. So obviously my wife and my 3 boys were there. My daughter had to go to her ballet lesson. So my 3 boys were there, and this was my youngest holding this sign up that they'd made in secret. I didn't know anything about it. And, so that kind of spurred me on for the second lap. And I still have that sign 5 years later.
Yeah.
Wow. And at some point I'm going to have it framed and put up on the wall. But it was, although there was no medal for that race, I got that memory. So that's the best thing about my first race.
That's awesome. So, man, so that's been, 5 years ago. That's your first race. Yep. Where did you get that fever, like that race fever where, I think a lot of us go through this, like 5K, 10K, half marathon. Where have you taken that since? Where have you taken that, that sort of that, I guess, the glory of running that 8-kilometer race, from there? Did you have like a desire to do more?
It was funny because they had the third race of that series a couple of weeks later, and I'd signed up for that one as well. And stupidly enough, it was, 100 degrees again on the night of the second one. And my wife and 4 kids signed up to do the 4K whilst I did the 8K. So that was pretty awesome because my wife technically shouldn't be running. She had a pretty serious car accident 12 years ago and smashed her left leg, basically ankle, tib and fib to smithereens. She's got 2 plates and 16 screws in there now, holding it all together. But because of her weight loss, she decided that she wanted to have a go at this, and she was pushing the little man around in the pram and did that in 100-degree heat, and I did the 8Ks, and that was the foundation for me moving forward. Yeah. The worst part was there was no medals for these 2 events. So I don't even have a medal for my first 2 events.
That's all right. I don't have one for mine either. It was a local 5K, and I think it was $5 to do. And I did it in 34 minutes. I came in third to last, and the two people that finished behind me both walked it the whole time.
Yeah.
And an 8-year-old passed me at the finish line. Little jerk.
And who knows where he is now? He's probably not running anymore.
Exactly. I don't know. His dad was a runner too. His dad was running with him. It was pretty cool to see. So I bet he's still out there. He's out there running around. Hey, listen, let's hit the break for a moment. We got a lot to talk about here. I think we've just kind of touched the surface here. So I think we got a lot to talk about after the break. We'll be right back with Greg Leitch. Hey guys, my friend Lauren is creating an incredible resource for runners and triathletes. It's called raceadvisors.com. She has amassed a list of thousands of races, 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons, marathons, ultramarathons, and triathlons, and anything in between. If you're thinking about running a race, look it up and check out the reviews. Have a favorite race of your own? Look it up. See what others have to say about it. Or better yet, leave a review of your own. raceadvisors.com. Read it, race it, review it. I may not have a lot of hair, but I tell you, I know style when I see it. And I know you guys and gals with the flowing locks, you need something functional to keep that hair out of your face when you go on your daily run. And I have just the thing for you. It's called Greasy Girl Headbands. And I know what it sounds like, but it's not spelled that way. It's GREECIE, girlheadbands.com. They make headbands that are specially designed for the runner to keep that hair out of your face, out of your eyes when you're out there on your daily run. So check them out. GreasyGirlHeadbands.com, GREECIE, and find a design that's perfect for you. All right, we're back now from break with Greg Leitch. All right, Greg, I think all right, so we talked about your race, the 8K, and the series that you were running, and that your wife did the 4K the following week. Build us up now, so this was, and now I'm guessing, so this is still like 4 years ago, right? 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah. And now, here I am talking to a guy who is a certified personal trainer. You've come a long way, obviously. So let's fill in the blanks here. And let's go from that 8K to where you are today. How does the story continue from there?
Well, that was in February 2013 when I did these, March when I did these 8-kilometer races. Oh, so
was that after you said you were a trainer in 2012 or no?
No, I became a certified trainer in 2014.
Okay, gotcha. All right.
Still before I was still in the corporate world.
All right.
Back at this point. And I kind of, after these 8-kilometer races, I thought to myself, what's my next goal? Obviously, I wanted to hit 10Ks, but that was really close now that I managed to do 8Ks. Yeah. So what was the next one? And I thought, maybe I'd really like to have a crack at a half marathon. It's a long way away from 8Ks to 21. But if you don't have a goal to shoot for, then what are you actually training for? That was my way of looking at things. And my best mate was an Ironman. So I used to feed off him a lot, ask him a lot of questions. And he said to me, look, if you want to do a half marathon, you can do it. You've got the ability. It just comes down to the mental side of things if you really want it and work for it. So I thought, all right, this is March. I'm going to sign up for a run in Melbourne called Run Melbourne, which was in July. And it gave me plenty of time to build up from 8Ks to 21. And I started to get out and do the training end of February, start of March. I got into April and my long run was up to 14 kilometres. And a friend of mine was doing a run close to where I'm living now, which was in my hometown. She was doing the half marathon there and she had to pull out. She had bronchitis. Uh-huh. And she put a message up on Facebook saying, who wants my bib? I can't do it. And I kind of looked at it and went, I'm only at 14 Ks. This is 21. Should I put my hand up? I'll probably end up failing. I have to walk, whatever. And my mate said to me, just do it. And if you have to pull out, you have to pull out. Just treat it as your next long run. If you get to 16 Ks, great. And if you walk 5 Ks, well, you still finish the half marathon. It's still a PB. So I thought, all right, what have I got to lose? I signed up, took the bib, and off we went. I had set myself a plan that I was going to be the very last starter so that I didn't get sucked into the crowd again like my first race.
Yeah, good plan.
And I'd set myself an average pace that I wanted to stick to, and off we went. And I got to about 10 Ks in, and it was like the race went up one side of a river and then back down the other side of a river. So at the 7K mark, I could look across and see the finish line, and it was horrible because I thought I've still got 14K to go and there's the finish line over there. But I got to the 10K point and I heard the loudspeaker say that the lead runner was just coming through 19 kilometres.
Yeah.
And then I looked across the river and I could see him running past, and I was just like, oh, my God, I've got so long to be out here, and that guy's like 2 Ks from finishing. Got to 14 Ks and I thought, okay, everything from now on's a PB. Every step I take is the longest run I've ever done in my life. So my legs were heavy, but I was really, really chuffed that I'd managed to get this far. And my goal was 16. So I got to 16 kilometres and my legs felt like concrete. But once again, it was my goal had been achieved, and everything after that was
it's gravy.
Steps in.
That's what we say. It's gravy.
That's right, gravy. And I got to 18 kilometres. And I thought, oh, my God, I can't believe it. I've run this far nonstop.
Oh, so you're still running now. So you got to 16 and you just kept running.
Just kept running. I didn't want to stop. I wanted to see how far I could get. But I got to 18, and that's when my stubborn side kicked in. And I thought, you cannot stop now because you're 3 Ks. It's only 3 Ks from home. And if you stop now, you'll hate yourself for the rest of your life. So I kept joffling away. I wasn't fast. It wasn't pretty, but it was still running. Got to 19 kilometres, and there was a lady passed out on the side of the road.
Oh.
Someone, husband and wife, had taken her shoes off and rolled her into the recovery position until the paramedics could get there. And I looked at her and I thought, as far as I'm concerned, she's trained for this properly. I haven't. I could and probably should be like that, but I'm going to keep going. Got to about 500 metres down the road, and there was a young guy on a trolley being wheeled by paramedics into the back of an ambulance. And I'm looking at this thinking, what on earth is happening here? This is just a running event. This is not supposed to happen. And but I tried to block it out of my mind and keep running.
Was it a hot day? I mean, was it?
It wasn't too bad, but I just think that, you know what it's like. A multitude of things could have happened.
Dehydration, yeah. They might not be in shape. They might have pushed too fast. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly. So, but at that time, I didn't understand any of that. I went around this bend and I could see the finishing straight. It was about 1 mile away.
Oh, that's a long view.
Oh, it was horrible. I felt like I was in a cartoon, and that every step I took, the finishing straight would move away from me. And it was the longest mile I think I've ever run in my life. But I got to the end. Yeah. Once again, my wife and kids were there, which I hadn't expected, and my mum, because it was in my hometown, which was awesome. I fell straight down onto my backside onto the grass, and I looked at them and said, who the hell does this?
You do.
Exactly. Knowing that I still had another one to do, which was supposed to be my first in about 3 months' time.
Right.
Got the medal and kind of forgot about the pain, really. And it was just all uphill from
man. It feels good to finish. It's 100%. A great, yeah. And it's like, yeah, you know, you finish, you get through that finish line. If it's like it's relief, it's elation. It's like you said, who the hell does this kind of thing? Why would anyone want to do this? And then you fast forward a couple hours later or a day later, and it's, when's the next one?
100%.
So,
exactly right.
So let me ask you this. So when I finished my first half, very much like you, I was in a lot of pain. And my feeling was, and I walked the last bit, and my feeling was, I need to conquer this son of a bitch. I gotta get this thing. I gotta do it on my terms. And I trained really hard for like a month and a half, did another one and crushed it. So when you had this other one on your schedule, how did that work out? So you go for your second one. Were you more aware? Were you in better shape? How did you come out of that one?
I was in a lot better shape. Because obviously I had then structured my long runs as they should have been, so that, you know, my longest run wasn't 14 Ks. I'd built it up slowly so that I think I got to 19 or 20 kilometres and then tapered, and then obviously had the 21 race day. The problem was it was a very different course, and there was a couple of big hills involved, And a friend of mine had decided he wanted to do it as well. And he'd never run past 7 kilometers when he decided to do it with me. And I went out for a training run, and I was doing 14 kilometers that week in my training run. And he said, I've signed up for the 10 kilometer. I'll just come and run with you. And then when it gets to 10 Ks, you know, I said, I'll let you know when you can turn around and go back, say you've done 10 Ks, and I'll keep going. And strangely enough, he just ran the entire 14 with me that morning.
Good for him.
And I said to him, you do realise that there's no point in doing the 10 now. You've just run 14. You might as well do the half.
Good friends. What are they for?
Yeah. So he went home and changed his registration and signed up for the half rather than the 10. So that was great because I had a running buddy every Sunday morning when we went out after that.
Yeah.
And he just used to plod along with me. But his runs during the week, I didn't realise that he was doing a lot faster than what I was normally. And he was a lot better runner than me.
Yeah.
And come race day, we took off, and once again, I got sucked into his pace, and he had a goal of trying to break 2 hours, and I was not at that point by a long shot. I was probably about 2:15.
Yeah. And
at the 8K mark, I said to him, look, you've just got to go because I can't maintain this pace, and I'm holding you back, and you're going to blow me up. And so off he went. And unfortunately, with me starting off too quickly and a couple of big hills that were thrown in, I started to cramp in both quads at 14 Ks. So for the last 7 kilometers, I had cramps.
Yeah.
Didn't stop me, though. I pushed through it. I didn't get the time I wanted, but I beat my previous time by about 4 minutes. So I was pretty happy with that, knowing that I was probably a little bit foolish in how I started off. But as with all of these sorts of runs, there's a lesson to be taken out of everything so long as you look at them the right way.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you've done, since then, this is obviously, we're still talking about, 4 or 5 years ago. Since then, you've done a bunch of these now. So you're like an old kind of half marathon grizzled vet. Has it always been constant improvement, or have you had have you gone through sort of ups and downs with your time? Has it been over, like, say, the 4 years since then?
Lots of ups and downs. After that one, I kind of took a break from running for a while, and I was heavily into cycling.
Yeah.
We have a thing, like you've got them in the US and Canada as well, called the Ride to Conquer Cancer.
Yep.
We had them in Australia. There was 5 of them in Australia in different cities and 1 in New Zealand. And in 2013, I did all 6 of them.
Wow.
So that meant that I had to raise $2,500 for each event, and find my own way there. And each of them are a minimum of 200 kilometers bike rides. So I did all 6 with a group of crazy people who are. We call ourselves a very dysfunctional family, but my team in the last 5 years have raised $1.5 million for cancer research without any corporate backing. So it's all been done off our own.
Wow, that's amazing, man. Very impressive.
Yeah,
Very
thank
impressive.
you.
I'm involved with American Cancer Society myself over here. I'm nowhere near that. I've been doing it for 4 years, but it's just really, it's me, and we did the Ordinary Marathon that we did. I think you were actually part of that. We raised a couple, $700 or something like that for American Cancer Society. It just gives you a good feeling. It gives, that you're helping out. And it's one of the things, one of the few the sport, I think, is sort of, and cycling, I pretty much put them on par with running in that, for some reason, we get out there, we run, we cycle, we do these crazy endurance events, and it's like a magnet for raising money for charity. And you see it all over the place, and it just kind of, it makes it a little bit more worthwhile, I think.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I love it. So I did that in 2013, and then that finished start of December 2013, and I thought, what is my next goal? Do I want to go back to running? Do I want to stick with cycling? And then I spoke to a mate, and I said, what about half Ironman? And he said, "Oh, by all means, obviously being an Ironman, he wanted to try and get into that. But my problem is I swim like a rock. So that was always going to be the issue. And having small children, he said to me, look, the problem is you're going to face lots of hours on the weekend training.
Definitely.
So are you willing to do that? And I said, well, it's kind of a bit hard with activities and life, etc. I said, what about a marathon? And he said, well, theoretically, a marathon, you're not going to spend a lot more time running than you do for a half, whereas a half Ironman or an Ironman, you're going to be spending 7 hours that day, 7 hours Sunday. So I said, all right, let's do it. Let's sign up for a marathon. So that was my big thing for 2014.
Yeah.
So I still have.
Which one did you sign up for? Like, is there a Melbourne?
I did the Gold Coast.
Okay.
So up in Queensland, the holiday mecca that it is, and it's the flattest. It's an IAAF gold race, so it's one of the big ones in Australia.
Yep.
And it's the flattest one out of the whole lot. So nice. I thought, beautiful.
Good choice.
No hills, that's me. So I was into my training and I tore my calf muscle. Same one I strained 2 years ago. And that kind of threw me back 3 or 4 weeks. I went to see the physiotherapist and they said, yeah, do these exercises, everything will be good and you'll be back into it. As soon as I'd finished that, I went out for a run again and bang, it went again.
Yeah, and the calf sleeve's not going to help that.
No, not at all. So that kind of threw my training back a bit. My wife wanted me to change from the marathon to the half marathon, but I didn't want to do that because the whole family was going away on holidays and, I was going up there to do the marathon. I thought, what's the worst case scenario is I pull out. So I got up there and the apartment that we were staying in had the dodgiest mattress. And on the Friday before the race, I woke up and my back had seized up.
Yeah, so
I couldn't move.
You're done.
So it took me about 2 hours stretching and rolling and moving to free it up. And I thought, how am I going to do this marathon if I can't even get out of bed? So come race day, I got up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Race didn't start till 7. And it was very weird because everyone was still asleep and I'm on the lounge room floor and I'm stretching and I'm rolling and I'm trying to loosen my back up. And then I went for a walk and got down there. My calf had not bothered me once, which was amazing, fantastic. Started off the marathon, 10 Ks in, I felt my back start to twitch. At about 12 Ks in, I felt it start to spasm. At 15 Ks in, it locked up on me. So I started to walk-run. I thought, I'm not giving up. I'm going to get through this. At about 25 Ks, I felt my both hamstrings shorten. So that was it. There was no more running at that point.
Yeah.
I thought, I'm going to ring my wife and I'm just going to let her know what's happening. But within a split second of me thinking that, it was like the devil sitting on one shoulder and the angel sitting on the other. I thought, if I ring my wife, what she's going to tell me straight away, pull out, stop, just quit, step over the sidelines and you're done for the day. So I thought, no, I'm not going to ring her because that's just not what I want to hear. And then straight away I thought, I'm going to ring my mate, who's the Ironman, and I'm going to have a chat to him. And before I even thought about getting my phone out, I thought, why would I ring him? He's just going to tell me to suck it up and get it done.
There you go.
So that was it. I didn't ring anyone. I just kept going. Got to 33 Ks where my wife and kids were waiting, where our apartment was, and then my little man come running down the freeway, straight towards me, arms out, and all I could hear him yelling. I thought he was going to come and give me a hug or a high five or something, and it's just yelling out at the top of his voice, Dad, you forgot your jelly beans. He had a packet of jelly beans.
Nice.
For me.
Magic beans, man. Probably give you a lot of energy.
They were I hate jelly beans. They were the best jelly beans I've ever had in my life. So that was it. I just had to keep going. So that was another 9 Ks from there to the finish line. It was painful. I got to the end. I just made the cut-off time. But, yeah, it was done and dusted, and I was a marathoner.
Yeah, there you go. And then you get that medal.
Very ordinary.
And what?
A very ordinary one.
An ordinary. Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you. We just, we did New York last November in 7:15, something like that, which was a lot of walking too, and painful walking. So I've been there. So now, now this was was this a couple years ago? You said
2014.
2014. So now we're 4 years in the future, and you're giving this another shot.
I am. I'm having a crack in 3 weeks' time.
And is this like another sort of like, is this like a redemption in a way? Like, is this something, are you way more prepared this time? Obviously, I'm assuming that your back and your calf muscle is in much better shape at the moment. Are you excited for this? Are you nervous?
I am excited. I wouldn't say it's redemption. I'm probably not in as good a shape as I was running wise back then. In the 4-year gap, I've had a few battles with one with depression, which has kind of put me off doing a lot of things. You just have those horrible moments where you can't be bothered getting off the couch, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I had to have a good look at me as a person and see what I was doing when I was at my best, and that was running. So I'm kind of using this as the catalyst for me to get out and get moving and hopefully set an example for not only my running clients, but anyone out there who's having some really crappy times that may just need something to spur them on. So, this one's it's purely going to be a walk run. It's not going to be get out there and try and smash 4 hours or 4.5 hours. It's going to be a long, slow day. And I might not even make the cutoff, but it's not about that. It's just about proving to myself that I can get back out there and do this sort of stuff and have a bit of fun with the pain.
And I wouldn't sell yourself short on that cutoff either. A lot of races, and I don't know this race in particular, but a lot of races, what they'll do is they say that there's a cutoff, and then at that cutoff time they start taking things down, but they usually leave the finish line up till the end. Like the last thing they take down, like New York City Marathon's different. They'll wait for anyone, to go through. But some races are a little bit tighter with their restrictions and they won't. But I know, for example, I did Fort Lauderdale and I met a couple beforehand that were pretty much going to walk the entire thing. And there was a 6-hour cutoff there. But these guys said they were going to take more like 8 or 9 hours because they were walking the whole thing. The guy had reconstructed knees.
Goodness.
Yeah, it was incredible. I tried to get him on the podcast. I just couldn't find him after the race. If he's listening, I can't even remember the guy's name. It was a long time ago. But yeah, so you never know. You never know if they'll be there or not. But I kind of got a feeling that whether they're there or not, you're gonna get there.
Oh, definitely going to get there. It's it's not about as much as we all want the bling. This is more for me just to. Get the monkey off my back, I suppose. And I'm doing this, and then I'm setting myself up for the Melbourne Marathon in October. So it's a pretty special race, that one.
So you got some time. You got some, you get a nice little, consider this sort of like a training run, I guess, and then you get yourself ready for October. Now, I want to mention your Facebook page, Real Bodies Fitness, is your and I think that is your sort of your business page, if I'm not correct. If I'm correct, right? That's the personal training.
That's my personal training page. Yep. I also have I do online run coaching.
Yeah.
So that page is Real Bodies Runners.
Yeah.
So I kind of keep the two separate so that people aren't confused by.
So now your personal training, is that like heavy run focus, or is that just in general? Like just general sort of personal training? Is there cycling? You have cyclists too? I mean, it sounds like you get involved with a lot of different things.
It's more so general personal training. I deal a lot with, because of my story in relation to weight loss and where I've come from, I deal with a lot of, the demographic that I deal with are a lot of mums and ladies.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy dealing with that demographic because there's no egos involved. The ladies want to know how they can move more. A lot of them are intimidated by boot camps. They don't want to go to gyms. So
right.
I deal with them in either a one-on-one capacity or a group capacity.
Yep.
And I mix things in, like last night we had a boxing session. And strangely enough, ladies love boxing, whether it's to get frustrations out from their husbands, their partners, their boss, whatever. They really love it. I have another session called a mum's movement class, which is it's a little bit deceiving because there's no burpees and push-ups and squats per se, but there's a lot of resistance bands involved. So it kind of sneaks up on them a little bit, but they know that they've done a workout without jumping around.
Yeah.
And then I have my run side of it where I have a Learn to Run club, which is probably where my passion lies. As much as I love coaching people to achieve goals like half marathons and marathons, having people who tell me they can't run and I tell them, yes, you can, just watch. And then you see them going from not being considering that they can't run to running their first kilometre non-stop and then running their first 3 kilometres and then signing up for a 5 kilometre fun run. And just change in their attitude. I've got a couple of ladies now that started with me 12 months ago, said they couldn't run, and now they're training for half marathons. So that's kind of where my passion lies.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's everybody's runners.
I want to talk about one thing you said. Now, I know you also have this third page as well on Facebook called Running for Me. And that sort of deals a little bit more with, you mentioned before the depression that you've gone through personally.
Yep.
And, we talked about this a little bit on last week's podcast with our guest last week. And I'm going to start stammering because this is just the way I get, because it's always like a touchy subject when you talk about, it's so personal, right? Depression. And yet it's really like, and it's kind of like, it's very pervasive in this sport as well, because I think that running can be such a coping mechanism, right? And it's, you talk about not being able to get out of the house or get off the couch or things like that. And I've battled stuff like that too. And, I don't know, I get a little touchy with labels. I don't know, I don't know if I'm just being lazy or for, depression, lazy. I don't know what it is sometimes, but, it's definitely a coping mechanism to get out and run. So now you were just talking about training these ladies you get all these people who get in shape, who are doing positive things in their lives, who are reaching goals. And yet there's depression involved. Do you find there to be it seems counterintuitive, but yet it's not, right? It seems like, how can you be achieving so much and then still be depressed? Like, how do you, do you find this, is it not only with you, but with your clients? How do you see this environment?
Unfortunately, with depression, you can't always tell, right? So, I mean, if you look at just recently, Anthony Bourdain.
Yeah.
A man who's achieved so much, people admire him, love these shows, etc. And unfortunately, he's now gone. Robin Williams is another one.
Yeah.
It's just, you look at them and you think they've got the most perfect world. And they're doing all these amazing things, but whatever's happening on the inside just doesn't match up with what it looks like on the outside. So I will never, ever – people can come and ask me, and I'm open to tell them my story and how I've coped or haven't coped, or, how I've recognised what I'm going through, etc. But I'm never, ever going to guide them on a path because I'm not a professional.
Yeah.
I've had one of my running clients, her husband has gone through his own battle, and she came and asked me for advice, and I said, look, it's the same with weight loss. I can only tell you what worked for me. Yeah. Everyone's different. You've got your own triggers and your own demons, or however you want to put it. Same with weight loss. Everyone's body's different. Different things will work for different people. But when you get out and run, it does clear the head. But some days you just can't even be bothered getting up to go for a run because you're just in that much of a funk that that's the last thing you want to do. And I've been there. And sometimes you don't even realise you're there. And then other days you say, well, yeah, this is one of those days where that big black clouds just descended on me, and I've just got to try and work through it whatever way I can.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And, last year, I got to tell you, so last year I trained for Ironman, and I was on it every day. It consumed me. And this year I'm doing it again, and I'm having issues with training, and I'm having, it's funny because I don't see it as depression. And then when you talk about it that way, I'm like, geez, maybe there's something to that. Like maybe there's something, I don't know. I see it as I was focused last year. I'm just less focused. But yeah, there are some days where I'm at work and I'm like, I skipped the gym today. I just, too busy or, even yesterday I made a lot of excuses to skip out on my long run. I wound up doing 5 miles at like 11 o'clock at night just cause I had to do something. But yeah, it's like, you kind of, I don't know. It's certain. And then when you get going, to your point, when, it's a stress reliever kind of thing. Once I get in the gym and today I got in the gym, I got on the elliptical, did an hour. I feel like I'm actually like, I think the pressure is coming because I'm 40 something days away and I really got to hit the accelerator here. So I can't really afford to be missing workouts, but, yeah, it's like, once I'm up there and I'm moving and I'm doing it, I'm sweating and I'm engaging. It's like, well, why didn't I get up yesterday? So today I'm on the elliptical and I'm going, why the hell didn't I do my run yesterday? I would have felt so much better had I just done it, So it's kind of like, and I'm sure as a trainer, you have to see that all the time with clients all the time.
You do, but I think I differentiate myself between me as a trainer, having kids, having worked in the corporate world, and sometimes you can see life gets in the way. And a lot of younger trainers who I've worked with don't necessarily see that side of it because a lot of them still live at home with their parents. They don't have bills. They don't have kids.
All the time in the world.
Yeah, to them it's just, well, what's your priority? You want to change, you've got to get in the gym. And it's like, hang on, mate, my priority is my kids or, putting food on the table or those sorts of things. So I'm kind of a little bit different in that regard. But, yes, you still get some people that will use every excuse in the sun to get out of training or eating correctly or –
yeah, and sometimes it's just pure laziness or just a lack of desire to want to do it, and it has nothing to do with real depression. But I think it's kind of good that you're doing this, that you're kind of, you have that Facebook page out there that, that you seem to be open to talking about your personal battles. Hell, I wish I had more time to talk to you about it. Cause, and before the show, you even mentioned it to me that it's one of those things where, if by being transparent and public about it, it helps one other person to sort of seek help and avoid it or just, help their own situation. It's worth it in the end. And, I think you're doing a great job. You seem like a busy guy.
I've got 4 kids, so I'm always busy.
Well, listen, Greg, I just want to thank you for coming on the show. I want to wish you good luck on your marathon in the next couple weeks. And, I'm even more excited to sort of see your October marathon. So we're going to follow you. We're going to make sure you get ready for that one.
Yeah, that's it's going to be a huge one because it finishes inside the world famous MCG. So it's like the Melbourne cricket ground. It's where the grand final for our Aussie rules is played, like our version of the Super Bowl. And it's a 100,000 seater stadium, and you get to run in and finish in the centre of the ground. So it's pretty special. So as a Melbourne person, to run onto that stadium is amazing, and to do it for a marathon. I did it last year for the half, but to do it for a marathon will be just incredible. So that's my goal.
Yeah, that sounds like it's going to be a great experience for you. Best of luck, and again, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to wrap it up there. Next week, I don't have a scheduled guest. I have a couple guys in mind that I might be bringing in, or I might just do a solo. Why not? I don't know. We'll figure it out. I kind of play this by ear. You guys know me by now. Anyway, with that, we're going to wrap it up. And always remember, when it comes to running, I'm no expert. I'm just ordinary.